big book. Big, huge book. All right. X-Men Essential. Okay, X-Men Essential, Volume 8. This thing's huge. It's gonna be a semi speed run here. Okay. Uh, I don't recall when these came out. I have 4 of them. This one in particular is the one I tend to have on my desk the most, just because it's super cool. It's a really cool one. Got a lot of cool artists in here. Leonardi during his peak, Silvestri on Uncanny X-Men, Arthur Adams, Simonson. Be real careful with these. As an artist, this is why we buy these. Even though it's on total crap paper, I hate this paper. This is as bad as those. What were those called? Eric Larson put them out. They were like the Savage Dragon books that had like the first 50 issues, and they were black and white. You know, it's like that used to be white. We do get them though for this. One that I had pre-ordered years ago. I don't even know if they make these. Are probably all out of print. Probably have to find them on eBay or somewhere, Amazon maybe. This one, because I had already had a couple of the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men collections, I got real excited because I was like, I did a little bit of homework and I was like, oh, it's got Wills, right? A huge Wills Portacio fan. Super excited, and it's got the Jim Lee issues as well from Extinction Agenda, I think. Huge problem with this one. If you will notice some Jim Lee pages, they literally just took the full color pages and flipped them to grayscale. This is not true black and white. This isn't just, the inked pages. And this whole book is this way. You got a little bit of creative coloring going where a lot of times this is terrible. I'll just stick to the full color on this. Thank you very much. I just want to put it out there. If you ever do come across these, if you don't have a chance to peek through it, do some research online. Try to figure out if you are going to get the full line art or if you're going to get gray. Most avid readers actually hate these because they're not artists. They want the color. The color helps their eyes separate characters and distinct characters from backgrounds, etc., etc. But I'm an artist, so all right, do a speed run here. This thing's the size of the Bible. All right, it's got quite a few issues in here. So on Uncanny X-Men, it goes from 229 all the way up to 243. Let's get the whole Fall of the Mutants run. Let's see, Uncanny X-Men. You do get the Art Adams Annual number 12 in here. Okay, so you get a few issues from X Factor, which would be the Fall of the Mutant issues. So Walt Simonson. And yeah, that's it. All right, so we'll go and peek through here. Just give you some of the flavor. All right, skip some pages here. But yeah, this stuff is super awesome. And it's, I think it's Dan Green inking these. I've always had an issue with Dan Green's inks on Silvestri. So line weight wise, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. The rendering and stuff. This is pre Jim Lee. This is Marc Silvestri drawing before the Jim Lee influence, right? So it's got a lot of Marc in it, right? It's got a bit of Mignola. Going on. Mignola was already on Marc's radar, and all the females. They got that very Nagel 80s vibe. Super cool art. Really awesome artwork. Great figures. Great contouring. Great just gesture poses are awesome. But the inks, he Green doesn't really close off any outlines. And so I always called him like a broken inker. I'm like, everything is broken. Like even back in the day when I didn't really know much about inking myself, it just always Uh, he would indicate the outlines on characters the same way he would render them on the insides of the form. That just always really bothered me. Um, I feel like there could have been a little more TLC put into uh, the figure form outlines and just some line variants. I mean, there is line variance that does exist, um, but some of it feels like it's just sort of like brushwork. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like that's kind of weird when he doesn't do it everywhere else with these thick outlines. And so other places he just decides, nah. He's like, nah, I'm not doing it there. So, but my bigger complaint, I guess this is going to be a complaint video. Um, so I'm telling everyone, I'm like, hey, y'all, get this book. Here's what I don't like about it. Uh, Rubenstein. Okay, it's got Joe Rubenstein doing inks on this. Took a little too much artistic liberty with the faces. Um, I mean, these pages obviously, Mark has a very potent style and anatomy, but there are things in here like this that just feel like Joe's inks. Like he hijacked him way too hard. Like that's not the way Mark renders. He just kind of came in and he did some stuff that made it almost unrecognizably Mark. Um, yeah. There's other things though that are very like that's really cool. I really like the inks on this here. It's pretty decent. Um, yeah, it almost feels like he just fully redrew this gateway face. That doesn't feel like a Mark face to me. It feels almost like a Tom Grummett. I don't know. This face feels off. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. Like this is obviously Mark, um, but I feel like if you had a different inker on here, and I've always been curious about that too. Like this was already like a top selling book, um, and they had Mark teamed up with um, like Dan Green and um, Pertaccio was obviously available and active. He did work on 201. 2 years prior to this, Wills was already doing work. Scott Williams as well. I think Scott was inking what's his name, Jackson Geis, Butch Geis, on some stuff. Uh, Doing some artwork too over on Strike Force. Um, yeah, but anyways, yeah, lots of great work in here. Um, Obviously, really cool era of the X titles, all in black and white. Great fill-in issue. There's four-ish, maybe 5 issues of fill-ins that Leonardi did that to me is just gold. I love them. This is one of them, 231. Did this one, there was another one, and then a few fill-in issues on New Mutants, which I really love. I really love those issues too. Um, yeah, you got Dan Green on inks on Rick here, and he's not doing all the broken outlines like he does on Mark. So maybe there was a conversation. I don't know. Um, yeah, very very different approach on the inks here. So not broken. So yeah, so let's see, we got Leonardi in here. I'm skipping a few pages here. Yeah, Leonardi was one of my favorites when I was younger. So the Brood issue here, 232. Back to Dan Green ink, so it'll look like Mark again. There you go. He didn't redraw that face. Love it. Yeah, this stuff's fun. Really, really cool. Really, really cool artwork. Cool villains. Cool story arcs. Much better than X-Men movies. I know that much. All right. I'm going to keep going here. I'm skipping quite a bit, actually. Uh, I do like seeing Marc draw X Factor in the uniforms. I think that's coming up. You get a little preview of the way Marc draws Gene and Scott. Okay, so Rubenstein's back as a guest inker here, and already out the gate, that's not a Marc face, and that's not a Marc face, and that's not a Marc. It's again, I think it's just the faces or something he does where he hijacks, and I don't know, just maybe he feels a need to act as a finisher even though he doesn't need to. Strange. Yeah, Marvel was just pumping books out though when these things came out, so maybe they're just playing with what they had available. Okay, so all right, that's the end of that great figure right there. Then you get the Evolutionary War Annual 12 by Art Adams, all black and white. Pretty positive this isn't the Art Adams Omnibus, so I'm gonna just skip over these here. I mean, I'm really here for Marc, to be honest, but just want to make you knowledgeable of this book's existence. Volume 8, Essential X-Men Volume 8, okay? Just don't be surprised. Like I said, the paper is just god-awful. Okay, back to another fill-in, another Leonardi fill-in. Awesome. Very, very awesome. Who's the inker on this, though? It already feels different. Is it Rubenstein again? Oh, no, it's P. Craig Russell. All right, cool. So someone who is knowledgeable of the style adjacency, P. Craig Russell, you know, artist in his own right, but did really good inks over Mignola for a hot minute. That was my first introduction to P. Craig Russell, was some early inks over Mignola, and I think Art Adams too. And I know that they are fans of P. Craig Russell as well. So, but just very advanced thinking in line weights and tapering and fades that a lot of inkers weren't doing. Dan Green would just come in here and just do brush work and just not worry about it being a fade. It's just indicating a shadow is dropped on the wall. Whereas P. Craig Russell came in and it's like, no, light to dark. Through the use of line variants without having a hatchet. Just straight up parallel hatching, no cross hatching. So a lot of inkers didn't really anything outside of the TP coming out of black or things like that. They didn't really they were not fashion forward for sure, unless they were Scott Williams. Scott Williams was already doing some pretty great inks back during these days. It's a fun cover. I think this is actually a Dan Green cover too. Yeah, it is. When I was younger, it always really kind of bugged me, but then I liked it later on that a lot of the rendering here is kind of darting outside of the outlines of the figure, like all this stuff kind of shoots out, and I didn't really like that. Got a little more used to it later on, though. Portacio does that a lot now in his outlines. Whenever he inks himself nowadays, it's very chop shoppy. I don't know how to explain it. Gives it a little bit of style, kind of reminiscent of circa, I don't know, 92 J. Lee kind of ish. Yeah, and also too, I try not to be with earlier work too. I try to look at it also knowing, having been an artist who had to work with like different materials. Um, Sometimes the lines that you use is a little bit delegated by like poor paper quality. Like maybe Marvel was giving them like crap paper, you know, like who knows? Only that artist or creator can tell you. Um, but yeah, I've had inkers back before I was inking myself. I had inkers asking me like, "Hey, could you not do this type of a render style or a crosshatch because the paper starts to lift or I get tear. It starts to tear easily." You know, um, I know I had some DC paper that was doing that, and some of the Marvel paper was the worst actually. Yeah, the Marvel paper. So it would have been 2000, 1998, 99, 2000. Yeah, terrible, terrible paper. Um, Luckily, back then I had quite a bit of the image paper left, so I was able to use that. We got a Terry Austin inks. Terry Austin, I think most famously for inking John Byrne and then later on Arthur Adams, but another Leonardi. Got some Rick Leonardi pencils here. Um, this issue is a little loosey goosey. I feel like pencil wise. Feels like a fill in, if you know what I'm saying. But still pretty fun, pretty cool to look at. Uh, really leaning into the cross hatching here. That's not something you would see Leonardi do a whole lot. Yeah. All right. I'm not even halfway done with this thing, am I? Cool team shot. So yeah. So let's see here. So you get the. I think most of this is Marc. It should mostly be Marc. Um, so yeah, Marc's back late November. Oh yeah, that's right. They were doing every 2 weeks, I guess. Bi-weekly. Is it bi-weekly or bi-monthly? I always forget. Silvestri with green. Yeah, you get the Goblin Queen saga here going on. Yeah, these are really fun issues of Silvestri here. Started experimenting a little bit more with dynamic shading on faces. You'll notice wasn't doing a whole lot of this early on in his career, but definitely got warmed up to it. Then you see him dive into this real hard in the Wolverine series. So, speak of the devil. All right, skipping some pages here. We got Sinister, so 239. So this is about a year after he already introduced him in, was it 221, 220? Yeah, these are some of the coolest. These Inferno issues are just awesome. Just badassery to the max. Um, when did they drop? I think they dropped it on a double. Oh, here it is here. Okay, so yeah, Silvestri, Dan Green. Great, great splash page here. Yeah, just this stuff here definitely he had a lot of this fun vibe later on too with the Top Cow stuff. All these NPCs with like great expressions. All right, let's keep going. This is pretty dope too. They give you the ad in black and white. Um, this looks really cool. I actually never cared for the color one too much, but this right here, this looks sick. Looks awesome. This Marc and green. You also get to see this one here. I've never seen a good scan of this piece. It's Marc and Terry Austin inks. It always feels very globulous. All the rendering feels like it's kind of if you raise the exposure on a black and white photo, it does this thing where it kind of the grays kind of shrink in and it becomes like bleeding, and that's what this image has always felt like to me. The inks are not very clear. There is no fine lines going on inside, so I'm not really sure what's up with this pinup, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'd love to see a nice actual scan of this original though at some point. That'd be great. I think it's still green. Yeah, Marc with Dan Green here again. All right, let's keep going. Got the long shot issues coming up. More sinister. My God, these pages, man. I swear to God. It's a cool double page spread there with the Marauders. I think I missed the cover image. I'm trying to not miss those. Here we go. So yeah, you got the Goblin Queen. It's a pretty dope original right there. Yeah, early on in my teens, I was already getting pro work. I was doing some trading cards for this book called Razor. It was this indie book called Razor. I actually ripped this off, which I'll admit it. Anything I rip off, I'll admit it. I straight up took this pose. Didn't light box it, but I did take it and flipped it into a trading card. I just liked it a lot. I was like, well, I feel okay about it. It's a card. It's not a page, you know. I think that's one thing I've done through my artistic career in comics is like just doing all I can to avoid uh, anything outside of a regular homage. You know, no ripping off this or that. Um, there's a stigma to it. It will follow you. It will follow you. As soon as you get busted for one rip, everything you did is probably a rip. That's what happens. You know what I mean? So I want to avoid that. You got some. Let's see. We got some Simonson here. 36. Okay, so this is after. Oh man, those issues. The lady that kisses like the police and they become like her like minions or like these monster things. Those were actually some of my favorite illustrated books by. Well, something about those issues just is really cool. Not your normal. Oh, there she is again. I think no, that's not her. So yeah, I get to see some Simonson in black and white. I think the inker on this is who's it? Wycheck? Not sure. Then it dumps you right into another one. Yeah, it's Bob. Right into another issue of X Factor here. Archangel looking sick as hell as usual. Skipping a bunch of pages here, by the way. Let's get this video over with. You've been here long. You've been here long enough. Thanks for hanging out, checking this out. But yeah, it would be very easy to sit here for hours and hours and just look at each page and just look at the way stuff is drawn, right? Because it is so good. This is a sick ass double pager right here too. More Dan Green inks. Always like this face. All right. Just so many cool concepts in here that never really get expanded on. Brief entrances. My favorite X-Men character, Colossus. Marc draws Colossus so good. Every time. Every time. All right. Let's see here. All right. So we're still in Inferno. Yeah, then it dumps you into another Walt Simonson issue. Still Silvestri. Let's get another Simonson issue. I think it ends on Simonson, to be honest. It's been a bit. Back to Marc. I'm going to backtrack here. Let's see which issue this was. Hilary Barta is the guest inker on this issue. Uncanny X-Men 243. 243. All right. Not really terrible, to be honest. The inks on this. Kind of just following through on what Marc put on the paper, I imagine. A little bit of stylization in some of the lines going on here that I feel like maybe Marc meant as an indicator, and instead maybe they inked it specifically the way he indicated it, if that makes sense. It's like scribbling out of a black, and then they actually ink your scribble the way you drew it, but they give it line weights and form. You know what I'm saying? Then it looks like it was meant to be that way. It's just kind of weird. Artistically, it's kind of weird to see that. It's a cool shot of Wolvie right there. Yeah, I think because I've seen Marc do this before, even with noses, like where they're broken, like almost like three skipped lines to like define the nose with the bridge and the divot and that. They inked it that way, so that's fine. Just kind of interesting. That's a dope face. I've always really liked this panel. That looks so cool. Looks like something Marc would draw today, right here, actually. Okay, so yeah, I think so. It is. I think I'm right. So it ends here. Jumps over to long shot with all the rest are draw out for the count. X Factor 39. So you got Milgram as an anchor over Walter. So yeah, that's it, man. I mean, like I said, this is a huge book. Thanks again for hanging out towards the end here. I don't think there's any bonus material. You get one weird grayscale thing. Like I was showing you, avoid this one at all costs. X Factor Volume 5 Essential. There is an X Factor book, though, which is black and white without the grayscale. I'll have to look through my trades to see if I got it anywhere where I can actually reach it. But yeah, if you're interested in some of Marc's best presented pages in Uncanny, they're definitely in here, inked. You know, I don't know anywhere else that you could find these in a collected edition. So it's going to be Uncanny X-Men Volume 8 of X-Men Essentials series. I think that these ran around, I don't know, like maybe 08 to 2012, maybe. I bought this when I moved to Arizona, so that would have been after 2009. And yeah, because I got it from a Barnes & Noble up in Mesa. So yeah, there it is. Essential X-Men number 8. Don't forget to subscribe. I need some subs. All right, guys, thanks.